Today, I'm going to review some of your builds. Hey guys, welcome back to Black Magic Craft. It is time to formally announce the winner of the April Guild Build Challenge, but I wanted to take this opportunity to also review some of the other entries, my personal top 10 favorites. Last time I did this, it was really well received and it's a lot of fun to do it. And I think it's nice to be able to give some of the other entries a little bit of screen time and attention because they're ones that I really like. That's the thing. With these guild builds, we get tons of entries. In April, it was 117. There's more than 5 that deserve to win. There's more than 10 that deserve to win. And the thing is, these finalists are chosen by 5 different people together, collectively picking their favorites. We all have our different tastes and criteria for what we're picking. So if you don't make it to the top 5, that doesn't mean that one or multiple guildmasters didn't think it was one of the best. It's just the way things work out. So today, I want to show you what are my personal top 10 favorites and discuss them in a little bit of detail. And if you don't see your piece here, again, that doesn't mean that it wasn't the favorite of somebody. There's a very good chance that the other guildmasters thought it was one of the best. These are just my personal favorites and ones that I would like to talk about a little bit. So let's take a look at my top 10 favorites. And of course, the winner. Let's start off with our winner. The Wizard's Tower Golem by Stellarian Games walks away with the first place and wins the €50 voucher for crippledgodgames.com. This piece is an absolute showstopper. At a quick glance, you might think, oh, that's a pretty nice stone golem, and move on, especially after seeing so many stone golem entries. That's exactly what I did. It wasn't until my second look through the entries that I actually realized the massive scale of this piece, thanks to the mini in the bottom corner. I'm not sure how big this thing is from base to peak, but I feel it's probably in the territory of 2 feet tall, which is just insane. The stone golem portion of this build is nice on its own, but the wizard's tower on top of it is also a nice build in and of itself. Put them together and you have one hell of a piece. I love that there are multiple pieces on this build where minis can be placed, making it a fully interactive build. A group could spend a few hours of game time fighting their way up and into the tower to defeat the wizard controlling it. The scale of such a beast reminds me of the game Shadow of the Colossus, which is arguably one of the most breathtaking games to ever hit a console. Amazing work all around and a well-deserved winner. This falling tiles entry is incredibly clever, and even with the limitations of only submitting one photo, you can tell how this build operates. What starts out as a full area of different elevation tiles quickly becomes a terrifying ordeal as pieces of the tile literally start falling away. I'm usually not a big fan of interactive trap tiles because they often are better in theory than they are in practice, but this one is so unique and so well done that it just can't be ignored. This is another piece that, depending on how you were to implement it in your game, it could equate to a few hours of exciting gameplay. I love the fact that you could place any number of battle mats or artwork below it, be it lava, water, acid, whatever, to add to the theme and immersion of this threat. Really cool. I'm a big advocate for avoiding playable interiors in buildings, especially ones with small footprints. So in that respect, this Wizard's Tower isn't the type of build I'd normally be that into. What made it stand out for me, however, was the modularity. I've seen several people make layered towers like this with stackable and removable floors, but this one in particular was really well done, especially with the stairs. So often, people build stairs with steps that visually look great and in scale, but are not suitable to use with miniatures. I think the decision to make each floor just have a few large playable stairs is the right way to go here. And the fact that each floor has the stairwell cut out revealing the stairs below it is just perfect. What I especially like about this, besides the ability to make towers of varying heights, is that with this modularity comes better storability. I've actually avoided building a nice large tower like this myself because it wouldn't fit in my display shelves, but a system like this solves that problem. Really well done. Like the winner this month, this stone golem was able to stand out in what was a sea of stone golem entries. I really like that this build instantly emotes a setting and story. This golem belongs to a certain place and it's not afraid to show it. The Mesoamerican influenced architecture and stonework really does a lot to bring some life to this piece. The head in particular is very well done, assuming it was hand carved from foam, which I think that it was. The white eyes breathe life into the piece, and the decision to use a really vibrant, kind of off-color green flocking gives an almost magical glowing effect. I really like this one and would like to try replicating it myself at some point. Great work. The big one. This piece really blew me away. I can't say it's the most original of monsters, but there are so many things going on here with the use of materials that really make it stand apart. To be perfectly honest, I can't dissect this one on a technical level because I'm not sure how some of its best elements were achieved. My original guess was that the tendrils were something like rolled green stuff, but going back to the submission email, they seem to actually be repurposed from that cheap Star Wars toy that floats around the bargain bins, and that's really clever. The mouths and eyes, I'm not sure. Even the skin, my guess is that it's a foam form with some clay or putty sculpting and maybe covered in some sort of tissue or paper. I don't really know, but it looks good. The scale of this piece is also really great, just large enough to be a scary and memorable opponent, but not so large that it seems like an impossible creature to defeat. Of all the entries, this is the one that I would most like to see a step-by-step how-to guide to see how it was made. I absolutely love it. When going through over 100 entries, this Death Tyrant really stood out to me because it didn't quite look like many of the other entries. It appeared that they took a styrofoam ball and intentionally melted it, possibly with spray paint or acetone, maybe even with a heat source. This is the type of thing that really gets me excited, taking a material and exploiting one of its flaws to great effect. The melted foam, which appears to be covered in a tinted epoxy, creates a really vile and sinister look that I really enjoy. The eye in particular, which the submission states is a marble, is quite well done and really finishes off this piece. Very, very cool. Alright, this entry puts me in a bit of an awkward spot. To be honest, I am not a fan of the obsession with making Baba Yaga's hut. Every time I make a small building, the comments from the internet about adding chicken legs to it never ends, and I don't know why. I know it's a classic character and encounter, and I myself have faced off against Baba Yaga and her hut during the Curse of Strahd game that I play in. But personally, I think a hut can just be a hut, and adding chicken legs to it really kills the usability of the piece long term. However, there is no denying the beautiful execution taking place here, possibly the most well executed build of all 117 entries on a technical and skill level. I know for a fact that this piece was done in such a way that the hut is removable so that it can be used as a regular hut, which I think is crucial if you're going to go for the whole chicken leg thing. I particularly like that the legs themselves are tree roots and sculpted in an absolutely flawless way. What gets me about this build, however, is the form of the hut. All of the curves and angles of the hut are really incredible and capture a sort of Tim Burton-esque fairy tale quality that's actually really difficult to do. It's so much harder to build something in this sort of shape than it is in a traditional form, and I have mad respect for anyone that can pull it off. The idea to leave the doors and windows just open, stuff the thing with polyfill and an LED is also very inspired and creative. Absolutely spectacular entry. I thought this piece was particularly creative. I really like the fact that it's not a 100% custom build. I like that it takes a retail-ready miniature and totally transforms it with a super cool add-on. Not only is the idea of goblins riding a stone tower strapped to a giant's back super friggin' cool, but it looks really, really good. It's great to see some of the techniques used to create things like buildings implemented in such a unique way. And because foam was used for the bricks, it wouldn't create an off-balance top-heavy add-on, causing problems with tipping. This is a great example of foam being the ideal material for the particular project. I love it. Of all the 117 entries, this was the one that gave me the biggest aha moment when I saw it. The EPS foam ball creating the texture of the jellyfish is just brilliant. I love this use of material. The individual brittle foam balls of EPS are its biggest flaw and what makes it not suited for many projects. But here, those balls are broken apart and celebrated in glorious fashion. Not only is the use of material very creative, but the creature itself and the color scheme is pretty unique in terms of a tabletop RPG monster. What appears to be a plastic champagne glass stem as a stand is another wonderful use of a cheap material. And I believe the tentacles and green feelers on the underbelly come from an aquarium accessory, which again is another really creative use of a cheap material. This is the type of project anyone could tackle to great effect, be they novice or expert. Really well done. And this last entry in my personal 10 favorites is this ATST. We don't get many non-fantasy based entries to these challenges, and it's always nice when we do. This piece is one of my favorite entries of all guild builds ever. Why? Well, I love the fact that using very simple, cheap, and free materials, they were able to create an almost perfect representation of a very well-known character, so to speak. The image of an ATST is burned into most of our memories, and it would be really easy to get it wrong. But they don't. They get it right. They get it really, really right. And at a glance, you might even think this is an off-the-shelf model, but on a close look, you can see it's made up of all sorts of crafty little bits. This entry is really greater than the sum of its parts. Paired with some paper standy stormtroopers and some foam trees, this entry is everything that is right and wonderful about our hobby. This build should sit with a sense of pride in the builder's collection. Absolutely great. That's it, guys. That is my personal top 10 favorite entries from the month of April. I want to thank everybody that submitted projects because every single one of them will probably inspire someone. And that's the really great thing about our community and why it thrives. We have this great circle of inspiration and replication and shared ideas. And these guild builds really help that in a big way, because it's one thing when guys like me are up here building things and showing what they're doing, but when people see what the whole community is making, it's really, really inspiring. So thanks everybody for helping us make that happen. If you want to get in on the May Guild build, you still can. There's time. It is currently being hosted on the Crafting Muses channel. Go there, check it out, see the launch video, see what the criteria is, what the challenge is, and get building, because that's the whole point of these challenges, to get you guys to complete something for the month. So if you enter, good luck, have fun, cheers, I'll see you again on Friday.